Hey everyone, hope you're having a good day. My name's Andy. The channel is Finding Value. Today we're going to do our daily technical analysis updated commodities, work our way through the dollar, yields, precious metals, and commodities ETFs that I follow. I'll interject my financial opinions as we go through it together. And if you need help with anything, check out finding-value.com. That's where I dive deeper into all these sectors, looking for potential investment opportunities, sharing those opportunities with everyone in the community. And right now we do have a special going on. Special is the coupon code, half off for the first month only on the monthly membership, and a larger discount on the yearly membership. Let's dive in, take a look, see what's going on today. A pretty ugly day today. We've got a weaker DXY today. We're down 1.5%. What's important to know about the DXY here is if we are going into, if there is recessionary fears, if there's slowdown fears or whatever fears there are around the tariffs that were talked about last night, we would normally see a stronger dollar. It would go up, not down 1.5%, which is a little bit confusing to me. In 2020, when we had that scare, we actually had an increase of the dollar going up where that circle is. So the dollar during that time frame, let me try to get it through here, actually went up for that period of time. And there it is right there. See that move on up? And then they released stimulus and all this other stuff, which basically reversed it. 2008 was a very similar situation when we had that big crash. We had a big, strong dollar in that period. It was all this. That was that strong dollar coming in. People ran to safety in the dollar and in bonds. Now, we had yields go down today, but we've got this weaker dollar, which is kind of confusing to some degree. And this, again, was gapped down last night in post-market trading. The 2-year yield down quite a bit, 3.5%. We are starting to drop at a little bit larger pace here. We very well could bring this down quite quickly if we continue the pace that we did today. Coming on down, and I put that box there where it could potentially end up for the 2-year yield dropping, and the Fed funds rate could get cut, maybe even rapidly. They may even do a surprise cut to keep the Fed funds rate and the 2-year yield in alignment. The 10-year yield dropped about 2% today. That was also another one. These were all gapped lower in the morning. So if you were to look at like a 5-day, they were all gapped lower. I should say post-market or at night, so it dropped and then gapped down, almost like they're pushing it lower and using the tariff news to push yields as low as they can. And then after that, they probably dumped a bunch of bonds onto the market to absorb volume. They're trying to create buying pressure in bonds by scaring people. I think that's what they're trying to do. Some people are noting that this is a potential shoulder deal going on. And the way that I was viewing it is that this is a 1, 2, 3 breakout retest. Is that still a retest? Tough to say here. A lot of volatility, a lot of uncertainty in the markets at this exact moment. The 30-year yield down 0.36%, not as much of a pullback. We're on support. So the big question I think a lot of people are probably asking is, are we going to go up or are we going to go down? And are we going to get a slowdown in the market due to tariffs and all these other things? I don't know if anyone has that answer, as it is undecided if the tariffs will stick, if they're as big as they are. There's all these different uncertainties around it. And I think that's why the markets are selling off, is the uncertainty around all of it. So uncertainty breeds fear. TLT bond prices are up about 0.5%. And you can see that they gapped it up in the morning here, but it basically sold off. So what that means is people were selling bonds throughout the day to get the prices to go down, yields to go up throughout the day, but they were gapped in the morning, post market or pre market, either one. There's a lot of resistance above us, so we've got a lot of work to do. It's a maze to get through all of that if we are going to go higher in bond prices. The 2 and the 10, we've got some uninversion today, down minus 1.63, where the 2-year fell more than the 10-year. We are still in this pattern, which could be a falling wedge. And if it breaks to the upside, that means the yield curve inverts. If we break to the downside, that's an uninversion. This is a 3-hump consolidation in a downward falling wedge, which makes me think that it's going to break upward based off of the technicals. How does it break upward? Inflation. And generally, what's weird here is there's usually a strong correlation, a somewhat strong correlation. It's not super strong. There may be 0.5, 0.4, 0.5 R squared value if you guys are aware of linear regression analysis and how these curves kind of fit up. But generally, the 10-year and oil price, they generally move together with some correlation. And this here, generally when oil goes up, this curve inverts. And this is stating that we could invert the curve. Today, with the tariff news, that obviously went against what I'm saying and what the pattern may suggest. So we'll have to see what kind of follow through we get tomorrow and maybe even next week to see if this breaks to either direction. TYX TNX ratio popped higher today with the news. This is a complete tailwind behind gold. Gold does really well when this comes back up. And what this means is that the 10-year falls more than the 30-year. Gold did incredibly well from 2018 timeframe all the way up to August, July of 2020. That was your bull market in gold. So I think gold is going to enter a definite tailwind here with these conditions, and I think it could continue to go up. We've got gold. So this is what's really interesting. And it makes me think that they're playing in the markets here. We had a weaker dollar. We had weaker yields. We had a 2 and 10 uninvert. And we had TYX, TNX go up, which are all tailwinds that I follow in gold. And gold last night gapped lower, gapped to here and sold off throughout the night. And then came up when the market opened and shot back up. And now we're in kind of in a formation to go higher again. It's a continuation pattern. Isn't that highly weird? Because all of the conditions existed where it would be a tailwind behind gold. So if someone went in here and did something with gold to slow this price move down, then why wouldn't they be able to do that in multiple markets? Which makes it a big question mark for what the heck happened today. If dollars down, weaker yields, uninversion of the curve, TYX, TNX, everything I follow is like straight tailwinds behind gold. This should have had a monster day today. And it was down $37 an ounce. It makes me think someone's in there doing something. Silver's down 8%. 8%. And I know there's a lot going on with LBMA, COMEX. There's a lot of stuff going on. I find it hard to believe that putting tariffs on is going to drop silver 8.15% on this chart here, which is a large bearish engulfing. Gold's the one that I don't really believe. This one may be believable. Fine. There's fear in the market. I get it. Gold's a little bit more difficult to swallow. Now, could this be a potential pattern where we break out to the downside? It is possible. This is a pretty big, strong selling pressure candlestick today, unfortunately. And maybe we come back to this 25-ish area, which is a possibility. Platinum down 4.19%. It did not get spared. Pretty large selling pressure candlestick, and it's still within the support resistance areas, squeezing in this pattern. Palladium also down 5.8%, pretty strong selling pressure day to day. Most everything got strong selling pressure across the board. I don't think much was spared today. XAU to gold ratio, we are down 0.77%. And again, nothing's changed here. We've broken the downtrend. We're still at a very low level. And gold and silver mining companies have a huge runway to appreciate against gold. Nothing's changed. GDX down slightly. I mean, just barely down. It fought all the way back up throughout the day to get back to where it was. GDXJ, very small down day, and SILJ down a little bit, 2.25%, versus the other ones that were basically flat. Are these trends broken? Are we going to get a big pullback in silver? That's all big questions. We need to wait. We need to wait and see. Generally speaking, though, when you break a falling wedge to the upside and create a higher low, we did create a higher high here. This was a breakout, higher low, higher high. This is a new uptrend, and then somehow it's dumped and has been contained, surprisingly. But we'll have to wait and see what silver does, and if we break out of that pattern to the downside, or if it continues higher. Crude oil down 7% roughly, just under 7%. We're back to support, unfortunately, here. Big selling pressure candlestick too. Lots of selling pressure occurred throughout the night and throughout the day, coming on down. And the thing here with crude oil, and tariffs and fear in the market, the 10-year yield and crude oil are interconnected to some degree. They're correlated together. Bessent and Trump want this lower. They want the 10-year lower is what they said, but they're going to have to go after oil because the 10-year and oil, a lot of the times they do link up. So here's 10-year overlaid on oil. And here is that kind of relationship. You can see we were chopping sideways here and we're chopping sideways here. It's not perfect, but there is a relationship and there's a loose correlation there. So I think they can also use oil as a way to kind of stimulate the economy to some degree if they keep it low. So right now we're right at support. Is there further downside? This is a pretty strong candlestick. We were breaking out, and they released the news of these tariffs, and man, it really had an impact on a lot of different things. And I think it impacted the things that they wanted it to impact the most: silver, gold, just precious metals in general, and crude oil. And they wanted yields to drop. So I think they released it in a way to, I guess, to incite fear, get more fear in the market, and they did that using uncertainty, in my opinion. TTF nat gas down 4.4%, which is not bad compared to a lot of other stuff going on today. Very well could go lower. We're underneath resistance at this time. Natural gas is up 1.53. One of the stronger performers today, moving to the upside, still above support. Your boy XOP, you know me, getting smoked today, 10.7% down. We had a nice, good bullish engulfing, very good setup here. Nice, kind of like just breaking out of the flag pattern, and then the tariff news came out, and it just destroyed that momentum. Maybe done on purpose, I don't know, but down quite a bit. We are now, big question mark, what goes on forward here? We've got one candlestick that just looks like death. And we're still kind of at that support region here. We are getting underneath this support level there. If I were to grab this fractal and then flip it, this is what it would be like lined up. So maybe we've got a little bit more downside left in this fractal formation of what could occur. Maybe we can pull back a little bit more in the short term. But we'll have to wait and see what occurs. OIH also getting shellacked, down 11%. Pretty strong closing too. We came off the bottom a little bit. There's a little bit of support trying to generate there, but we did end pretty close to the closing low, which is still pretty bearish. You can see the big gap down too that we experienced here. We were starting to build momentum here, trying to work our way on up, and that news really disrupted that momentum. So we'll see, again, we'll see what kind of follow through we get the next few trading sessions. Newcastle coal futures down 1.5%, which is actually a strong day compared to most everything else. Could still be a double bottom, and we'll see what occurs with all these tariffs and all this uncertainty in the market. Again, we could easily get pulled lower if the overall markets really start to sell off. I don't think we could get stuck in these kind of wide sell-offs where everything kind of sells off together. Still a possibility. Sprott Uranium Trust down 2.7. I don't think it looks that bad. We've got a break higher here, falling into a bullish engulfing. That's all bullish there. Yeah, we had a down day today, but that still looks good to try to work its way on up. It's holding together quite well. Uranium futures pricing. Now this is from Wednesday, yesterday, but it was up. I don't know what it was up or down today. I think that's a day lag, but that looks like it's trying to bottom and turn up. That looks good. URA down 3%, which isn't horrible compared to some of these other sectors. So down a little bit. URNM also down a little bit, and then URNJ down 3.6%. Not a horrible looking candlestick. And we were trying to turn here, and then we got that news, the tariff news. So not a ton of sellers left in here if this is all that it fell, given the overall markets. Nickel down slightly, down 0.1%. Huge win for the day is what I would say. Looks like it could still go higher. Copper down 4.5%, getting shellacked with the rest of them. Not too bad, but it did end towards the closing price, real low closing price closing. So momentum's to the downside. COPX also getting hit pretty hard, almost 7% down in COPX. Still above this support area there. Lithium down 4%, getting some, and again, guys, almost everything sold off today. So that's down a little bit below support, right on support. REMX also down 3.6%, gapping down in the morning there. Iron ore moving sideways, still looks good in my estimation here, squeezing up into this corner. We've got aluminum down 1.24%. That's looking a little bit more weak, and some momentum's being generated to the downside. We've broken the uptrend line. Baltic Dry Index down 0.25, pretty muted selling pressure, and that is a flag pattern for a potential move higher. But by looking at the sector and the individual companies, and that's not what you would have thought occurred throughout the day today. Let me see. Oh, that was Wednesday, so I don't know what we have for today. Emerging markets down 2%, right at support. We're getting close to it. And that's kind of weird with a weaker dollar too, but sold off with everything. Moo down 2%. Again, all these sold off. Down 2% is a win, depending on what you're comparing it to. We're still within this pattern here and still above the support line of that guy going across. KRE getting smoked, down 10.33%. This is one of the epicenters, along with energy getting hit pretty hard. We had a very nice setup yesterday for a bullish engulfing to go higher. But again, that news coming out today, that really disrupted the momentum that we were generating. The past couple of trading sessions here were pretty good. But now, big selling pressure to the downside, and we'll see what follows. XHB also getting some pretty strong selling pressure today with the tariff release. We had a nice setup here, broken downtrend, bullish engulfing. This looked good to go higher. That would have been my guess, looking at the technicals. With that news coming out, tariffs, man, it really destroyed that momentum, and we'll see if it can regenerate that momentum or if we've got new momentum generating to the downside. TAN down 2.35. It's been going down pretty consistently though. Russell 2000 getting smoked 6.6%. That's a pretty big down day. Yesterday again, pretty strong setup to try to move higher. But yeah, that news that came out yesterday really impacted a lot of different sectors. It impacted the S&P 500. That had a nice big bullish engulfing setup. Big selling pressure move today. I think when you look at this and the setups of yesterday, generally what happens is that governments make decisions. Those decisions get leaked to traders. And then what you generally see are traders positioning before the announcement of the news. If I were to guess, not knowing today, if I didn't know what that was today, I would have guessed that the news would have been bullish and that we were going to go higher, and that whatever news was leaked out was bullish for the markets. But that was not the case. Um, we sold off quite rapidly in a lot of different sectors. This was down almost about 4.8%. And we'll see if this generates more bearish or more fear in the market. NASDAQ also down 6% with a bullish setup coming here. That was a bullish setup, but the news trumped it. Or the Trump newsed it. SMCI down 7.8%. That's looking pretty ugly. NVIDIA down. These have big distribution candlesticks up here too. So we could see a much larger sell-off in a lot of these to the downside for a variety of different tech companies and all that stuff. Bitcoin down 4%. Again, this also got hit pretty good, and that does look bearish, where we could sell off and move to the downside in Bitcoin. Ethereum down a little bit, and that's got some downside momentum that's been generated. MicroStrategy down about 10%. This is still holding on pretty well comparatively to what the overall markets have done. And then the VIX is spiking up 40% today as the S&P sells off. You can see the VIX starting to spike higher. Do we have a lot more to go? Could we get to these levels up here? Very possible. We could see further selling pressure across the board. This was the last spike in 2020. The other spike was 2008. You can see that 2008 is very similar to today. What happened was, we can use that fractal too. We can take it and compare it. There's the fractal that I'm grabbing there. And it's a very similar fractal where it looks a lot smaller, where the fractal sizing might be similar to something like that. Let me get in here real quick and see. I'm going to put this online, and then we're going to see if I can. I don't know about measuring this thing up perfectly, but maybe something on the lines of that. Yeah, maybe on something on the lines of that, but then that means that we could maybe do something where we squeeze this up a little bit. Yeah, maybe we go up to 50 or so, which is up a little bit way, a little ways from where we are today. And this is the fractal from 2008, 2008 time frame. That's the VIX there, moving on up. One other thing I'd like to cover is we had a really weak dollar, and we saw a lot of strength in like Canadian versus USD in a lot of these commodity currencies. This, I think, is good because last bull market, we saw these currencies outperform the dollar in the last commodity bull market. I do think that we are squeezing up in these corners like this, and that is this whole section here. So we had a three-hump consolidation. Then we've got that circle, very similar. It's a bigger pattern on the right-hand side. And now we're starting to see an upward move for the Canadian dollar outperforming the United States dollar. We're also seeing that in the African rand. So South African rand was moving higher today. We saw that in the Brazilian real moving on up, breaking to a new high for this particular ratio, we'll call it. So I'll do this. I'll put it like this. We'll go on up like that. Is this something that we're going to break out, or is this going to be a top where we break down? Difficult to say. But we're starting to see strength in a lot of these different currencies. Here's Australian dollar versus the United States dollar. And again, these all have these three wedge consolidation. The last bull market was this guy here. That big move, 2008, 2011. And now we're squeezing up for a potential another move that we're looking for. Where we can see the dollar weaken, maybe the dollar weakens and interest rates go down. That's kind of what we're seeing. And then these currencies could go up. And then the British pound's also starting to move higher against the dollar here and breaking out of its falling wedge. Just an FYI. But that's all I've got for today, guys. So give me a thumb up for the content, subscribe to the channel, subscribe to the website if you'd like, special stack coupon code if you'd like to join and get a discount. And that's all I've got for today. We've got a question and answer session coming up Sunday, 5 p.m. Mountain Time is the next one. So I'll see you guys there. We can talk about all this stuff during the Q&A session. See ya.